also, during that time, I think through my relationship with Lewis Brown became more involved in preventive work. We did a little client checkup that we would give to every client that would come in. He helped design it, I would give it. Many times people wouldn't finish it. Other times it was a motivator to talk about their symptomatic legal problems. Do you have life insurance? Are you having problems at work? Are you having any stress in your marriage? Have you done your will in 3 years? Asymptomatic, to uncover latent legal problems. And really, I don't sell life insurance, so I wouldn't be the provider for some of the services, but it's a chance for people to have a legal checkup. And he was always interested in those kinds of experiments. I still do it in my office today. Going through the 80s, as mediation became more and more of a household word, and I think the fact that I was just in it that long, I may not have been any good, but the fact that I kept doing it, people kept coming. I still get calls. I told someone, I told the group yesterday, I've got the grandfather called me and said his grandson's going through a divorce. I did the grandfather, the son, and the grandson. So I've been around, and you get to follow people's lives. I tried writing a book in '84, but it didn't quite work. I don't think I either had enough to say or enough discipline, so I didn't finish it. But I started writing. If you look at my bibliography, the writing started to come, and I would write in anything. I mean, wherever, whether it was a local bar association or it was a small nonprofit, wherever I could write. And I found that it was always helpful for me to get my thoughts together. I would use those articles as marketing. In the early 90s, I actually, 1990 to be specific, I wanted to be, there was one committee I really wanted to be in, and it was the ABA Dispute Resolution Committee, before the section, that Frank Sander was the chair. And Frank was Lou Brown had gone to Harvard and was last in his class. He was very proud of being last in his class. Frank Sander was probably first in his class, a professor, as you well know, the father of mediation from the Pound Conference. And he and Lou were friends. And I had met Frank through my own mediation work. And I lobbied to get on that committee. And I remember now, it was in 1990, Frank called me and said, I've got news. I said, yes. He goes, I can't put you on. There are political appointments that I have to put on at the bar. The new president is entitled to name certain people. I wanted it to be you. Sorry. However, there is a committee called the Delivery of Legal Services Committee that you might be interested in accepting an appointment. So I talked it over with Lou. It wasn't the area I was most interested in. And Lou said, you know, bar activities are kind of interesting. And the further away from your parochial home you get, the more public interested people could be. And you might find you meet some interesting people, and if you don't, you can always quit. So I accepted an appointment, and little did I know that what they were studying was the pro se revolution of self-represented people in Arizona, which is, as you may know, the mecca of self-representation in the world. And it was due to some courageous jurists. They have the fourth floor of the Maricopa Courthouse is a customer service center. They really believe that people in the courthouse deserve to be treated with respect, and they can help them everything's in Spanish and English. And they were studying that. There was a study by Bruce Sales and Connie Beck that I helped edit. So basically the committee would hire these experts to write the study, then we would endorse it. So at that time, I read and participated in the study, and there was a little bit talked about they didn't have help from lawyers. And a little help would have been really good. And I don't know where it came from, but deep in my inside, I remembered my Federal Trade Commission days. And I said, well, what if lawyers unbundled? And it started in this committee. And we talked about it, and these great minds would vet it and tell me what could work, or couldn't work. And all of a sudden, I came up with this idea of unbundling legal services. Let's have lawyers who can help self-represented people a little bit. If they have a box full of receipts, instead of going before the court with that box and rifling through and keeping everybody waiting, how about if they could buy an hour of a lawyer's time, they would then be able to put them into a notebook, get a chart, one for the other lawyer, one for them. It was, all of a sudden it came together. And the committee talked about it. It was discussed for a number of meetings. And at the same time, I met a wonderful colleague from Australia named John Wade, who is one of the key mediators in the world. I mean, I think he's a fabulous trainer, wonderful mediator at Bond University. And he came to get Australia into the client counseling competition. I guess as this story goes, you could see, you do the things that you enjoy doing, you stay committed to the areas that are important to you, you meet people, like-minded people, doors open. Anyway, John invited me to come and lecture about mediation and about this thing called unbundling in Australia. And I think I wanted to do that talk outside the United States. I was afraid tomatoes would be thrown and that I would be run out of town on a rail. So I went to Twin Waters. It's on the Gold Coast. And they had tremendous participation of lawyers. I can just see them now, all of them. They were just wonderful people. And I gave the keynote. And but you need to know what prop I used. I used, my wife was formerly in advertising. And I said to Jody, I want to have something that demonstrates this concept. Now, she didn't go to Bryn Mawr for nothing. She has a great mind. She came up in about 30 seconds. She goes, popsicle sticks. I said, what? She went to the store and got popsicle sticks. And we write on each one: legal advice, research, discovery, court, negotiation, drafting, the 7 different elements of legal services. And she tied it up with a piece of yarn. The whole thing for the 250 people probably weighed less than 3 pounds. And we took them over to Australia. And if you ask people who are in Australia, they still have their sticks. I have my sticks on my desk right now. And we just watched a lot of movies, and Jody kept doing these sticks. And there was a spy there from England. And he was from the Law Society, and he loved the sticks and loved the idea, invited me to England for 500 people the next year to talk about unbundling for a legal access conference.